Star Trek Voyager, Starfleet Academy, Lifeline. Chapter 1. Cadet Kathryn Janeway gave her good friend Anna Mears a big hug. "You'll be fine," she told Anna, trying to sound optimistic. It wasn't easy considering her own feelings at the moment. "Of course I'll be fine," Anna answered. "It's you I'm worried about." Don't worry about Kathryn." Blake Thomas gave Kathryn's shoulder a confident pat. "She'll have everybody in the dorm playing Parisi squares up and down the hallways in no time." "Only because nobody plays a game of good old-fashioned tennis anymore," Kathryn managed to quip. Strange how her voice sounded so light and happy. Nothing like how she felt. She knew Anna and Blake saw through it, though. They'd known her for a long time. Anna picked up her duffel bag. "Take it easy, both of you, and call me." "No, you call me," Blake shot back with a grin. "When you two settle on who should call who first, then call me," said Kathryn. She watched as Blake headed down one path and Anna headed down another. Neither took the path that Kathryn had to take. Each of those paths led to a different dorm building on the grounds of Starfleet Academy. Kathryn's led her back to the big administration building, where she and her two friends had checked in after arriving an hour ago. Then the path wound past a line of sleek white buildings that housed classrooms, lecture halls, labs, training hollow suites, and all the other facilities that made Starfleet Academy the exceptional learning institution that it was. Although the campus was beautifully landscaped, with trees and gardens and acres of thick green grass, Kathryn still felt hemmed in as she walked, as if all these modern man-made structures were designed to hide the campus from the outside world. Kathryn was used to wide-open spaces, the kind she saw every day in rural Indiana. She'd been born and lived all her life there, and she had attended the Academy Institute, an official Starfleet Academy prep school located in Indiana, with Blake and Anna. And with Cheb Packer. I didn't make that up. But Kathryn didn't want to think about Cheb right now. He hadn't been accepted to the academy like the rest of them, and she was still angry that his jealousy had ruined their relationship. Kathryn was angry at someone else as well, someone who was supposed to have accompanied her on this trip today instead of Blake and Anna. Someone else was supposed to be with her right now, sharing this, perhaps the greatest moment in her life. But, as usual, he was far away. "Business before daughter again, eh, Daddy?" Kathryn muttered, shifting her heavy duffel bag from one shoulder to the other. Kathryn's father was Vice Admiral Edward Janeway, and for the past few years, ever since the big Cardassian problem began, he'd been off-planet more than on. These days, Kathryn spoke to him more via subspace radio than in person. Sometimes she wondered if he knew he even had a family anymore, let alone a daughter who dearly loved and missed him. Kathryn could forgive all of it, though, if he had just kept one promise, to be with her today. They'd planned this trip all summer. It was going to be perfect. But at the last minute, he'd been called away to an urgent conference on Vulcan. All she'd gotten was a subspace message from him. "Sorry, Golden Bird. Duty calls, so I'll come visit as soon as I can." Kathryn's mother had offered to come instead, and so had her oldest and dearest friend, Hobbs Johnson. But she had turned them down. "I don't need anybody to hold my hand," she said to herself as she walked. "If it's too much trouble for my own father to keep a promise, then I'll just do this myself." Kathryn continued swiftly along the path until Sudak Hall appeared from behind a line of stately oak trees. Despite her mood, she paused a moment. Her heart beat just a little faster at the sight of the tall, sleek building. It might have been a giant magnet, the way new cadets from every direction were heading toward it, their dreams and their luggage in tow. "This is it, Kathryn, your new home sweet home." Steeling herself, Kathryn marched up the steps leading to the big front door. It whooshed open, and she stepped through. The dorm's interior was like a travel terminal at rush hour. Beings from a variety of Federation worlds bustled about. Piles of luggage dotted the floor, and everyone seemed to be carrying some kind of duffel, box, or bag. The freshman cadets, not yet in uniform, were easy to distinguish. They were the ones gawking at everything with expressions of awe and excitement. Kathryn tried not to notice how many of them were accompanied by family members who'd come to see them off. Instead, she focused on her own expression, fixing a look of fiery confidence on her face, as if daring anyone to ask why she was alone. As Kathryn pressed forward into the crowd, her senses reeled as the rush of variety around her moved. It was just so much to take in at once. All these different people, the mix of human and alien languages, the swirling colors, the sounds, the smells. Her nose twitched at the spicy scent of a alien's perfume, and her hand tingled as an Arbazan's rough cloak brushed against her skin. A serene young Vulcan cadet gestured politely to her, and Kathryn obligingly moved aside to allow his parents to pass by unhindered. Kathryn crossed the large circular main lounge that formed the center of the dorm building. A map of its layout had been included in Kathryn's advanced registration packet, and naturally she had it memorized. She noted that, as the map had shown, all other parts of the dorm could be accessed from the main lounge by stairway or lift. The east wing of dorm rooms to the left, the soundproof study halls directly across the lounge, and the west wing of rooms to the right. The mess hall was up on the second floor. Kathryn turned to the right. Her room assignment was WW416, West Wing, 4th floor, room 416. She took a lift up 4 floors and walked down the clean carpeted hallway until she came to room 416. The door was open. Kathryn heard odd shuffling sounds coming from inside. "Hello?" She had no idea who her roommate would be, but the shuffling noises suggested someone with a large, bulky body. "Please, anything but a Horta," Kathryn thought, and curiously peeked around the corner. "Hello there? Just as she looked inside, a stack of boxes in the middle of the room toppled. On top of that stack of boxes had been someone of about her own height, who was now crashing down onto someone else, also about her height, who'd been standing next to the stack of boxes. All the boxes and both of the someones fell to the floor in a noisy jumble. Kathryn dropped her duffel bag and ran to help. "Are you okay?" 2 identical beings looked up at her. They were humanoid and female, with feathery crests of golden hair that ran from the tops of their heads down their backs. Their bodies were covered in fine golden fur, and they wore matching tunics made of a strange, shiny black fabric that shimmered when they moved. As Kathryn stared down at them, she felt as if she were drowning in their enormous golden eyes. The twins broke out into wide grins, showing perfect little white teeth. "Oh, good, good, good," one enthused. "It's a human!" shrilled the other in excitement. Quickly they sorted out their tangled limbs and scrambled to their feet, hastily dusting each other off. "We're Thrumple," they said in unison. "What are you called?" It took Kathryn a moment to find her voice. The aliens moved so fast with such precise yet gracefully fluid movements it was difficult to follow them. My name is Kathryn Janeway," she finally managed to say. The twins reached out and, each grabbing one of her hands, shook them with great enthusiasm until Kathryn feared she'd be jostled off her feet. "We're pleased to meet you," We hope to room with a human. We've studied your language and practiced your hand-grabbing greeting, see? Do you prefer a diminutive form of address? Kathy? Kath? Kate? Katie? Cat? Whoa, wait a minute. Kathryn took a step back, pulling her hands away. Are both of you my roommates? Thrumple nodded in perfect unison. Is that a problem? We thought you knew. No, said Kathryn, suddenly noticing that there were 3 beds in the room. I didn't. Nor should she have known. It was standard practice for roommates to meet upon arrival at the academy. But Kathryn had never heard of a cadet getting 2 roommates, and she said so. There's a good reason for this arrangement, Kathryn Janeway. Thrumple proceeded to explain, each of them finishing the other's sentences and completing each other's gestures until Kathryn felt like she was watching one person who had somehow been split into 2. That's just what the twins were, exact duplicates, like human identical twins. But Thrum and Pol were Diosmin, and everyone on their home world of Diaso 2 were born twins who lived their young lives together every minute of every day. As one of them put it, pointing at the other, she ate, I belched. Thrumpole explained that Diosmin twins gradually grew apart into separate beings. By adulthood, they were full individuals. But the separation process could often be awkward and even frightening for twins who were very close, as were Thrum and Pol. We're just entering our stage of separation, one of them told Kathryn. It will be very hard for us to lose our link, finished the other, tapping her forehead. Kathryn guessed that the 2 had some kind of psychic connection. No wonder they finished each other's sentences, she thought. We're not ready to separate enough to live apart, one confessed. So the academy has allowed us to live together during our freshman year, added the other. Next year we'll have our own rooms and roommates, but for now, the academy has chosen you to share our living quarters. So how shall we address you? Kathryn, Kathy, Kate, Katrina, please, just hold on a second. Kathryn turned away, hoping the hyperactive twins couldn't see her dismay. The honest truth was that Kathryn didn't want a roommate at all. Classwork was going to be plentiful and difficult, and given the option, Kathryn would have preferred to live alone, where she would be free to study whenever and however she wanted. Now she was trapped with 2 roommates about to begin a traumatic life phase. Their nonstop chatter alone would drive her insane before classes even started. Besides all that, Kathryn couldn't even tell which of them was which. They pointed helpfully at each other. She is Thrum and she is Pol. Kathryn studied their identical faces, bodies, and clothing. I'm sorry, I can't tell you apart. She has larger eyes than I, said one, as if it were obvious. And she has a bigger nose. Oh, I do not. Yes, you do. Never mind, Kathryn broke in. I'm sure I'll figure it out, somehow. She walked back to the doorway and picked up her duffel. I can't deal with this. It's insane, she thought. But she forced a pleasant smile on her face when she turned back around. The twins both gestured at the empty bed. We saved you the sleep bed by the window. Is that acceptable? Kathryn tossed her duffel on the designated bed. It was bare with a set of plain white sheets and a pillow stacked at one end. Fine. This is great. Thank you. I'm doomed, she thought, keeping that smile on her face even as she gritted her teeth in irritation. I don't have time for this. I want quiet. I want structure. I don't want to room with the doggone Corsican sisters. Then she sighed. Kathryn Janeway, back off. You're angry at Daddy, and it's not fair to take it out on Thrumpole. They can't help it if they're enthusiastic. At least they're trying to be nice." So with effort, Kathryn renewed her smile and turned back around, only to find the Diasamans staring back at her like kids watching a new puppy, waiting for it to do something amusing. "We like you," one ventured. "You have pretty skin," offered the other. "Very smooth." Kathryn cleared her throat. "Yes, well, tell me, why were you standing on those boxes?" Thrumpole threw each other a guilty glance and immediately went to work, restacking the fallen boxes. One explained, "We were attempting to turn the room's lighting device down," finished the other. "Our eyes are larger than human eyes, and your light levels are too bright for us." One twin tapped her skull. "Headaches! Ow!" "We ordered lens shields," said the other, indicating her huge eyes, "but they aren't ready yet." Kathryn tilted her head up slightly. "Computer, dim lights, please." Instantly, the room lights dimmed down to 1/2 normal illumination. Thrumpole looked at Kathryn, at each other, then down at their feet. Even through their fur, Kathryn could see their cheeks blush. "I feel so stupid." Kathryn unzipped her duffel and began to unpack, wondering how these two ever passed the Academy's grueling entrance exams. "Don't worry about it. Give yourselves time to adjust to new things. I'm sure Earth is very different from Diasa, too." Even though her back was turned, Kathryn could hear the twins whisper. "See?" came one quiet voice. "Humans are very understanding." The other voiced sharply. Suddenly, a loud rap on the door made them all jump. A short, skinny, out-of-breath cadet waved a hasty greeting, then broke out into a flood of words, whipped by so fast they only barely qualified as standard Federation English. "Hi, Haley B. Coogan. I live down the hall. Got a warning. Our CGC is Commander Mallet. He's on his way to clean up your room now," and she was gone. Kathryn managed to blink once. Then she leaped to the door. "Hey, wait!" But Coogan was already at the door of the next room, delivering his message in the same rapid-fire tones to more fellow freshmen. In seconds, he was dashing around the corner, heading for the next room, and his latest informants were yelling, "Hey, wait!" after him, too. Kathryn turned back to Thrumpole. Their eyes were narrowed in concentration as they tried to decipher Coogan's word blur. "I didn't understand a word he said." "I did," declared Kathryn. "He said our cadet group commander is Mallet. He must mean Commander Etienne Mallet." She started tidying the room. "We've got to clean up, quick." "But," began Thrumpole at the same moment. "Just do it," ordered Kathryn. Her urgency was contagious, and without another word, Thrumpole stacked their boxes and put them into the closet, then quickly started folding clothes and putting them away, while Kathryn made her bed so fast the sheets nearly sparked. Kathryn knew Commander Etienne Mallet. That is, she knew about him. He was the chair of the Sciences Department at the Academy. Of French descent, his name was pronounced Melee, and he was brilliant as well as demanding. Being a sciences major, Kathryn had looked up his public Starfleet records just so she'd know the personality of the man who would, in 4 years, award her a diploma, with honors, of course, and a shiny new ensign's pip. But now fate had thrown Kathryn a nasty curve. Mallet wasn't just her department head, he was her CGC. His records had stated that every few years he took a semester sabbatical so he could serve CGC duty. Lucky her, this was his sabbatical semester. Kathryn's Academy registration packet had informed her all about the function of a cadet group commander. The theory was this. Along with academic curriculum and physical training, cadets had to be taught to obey orders, act immediately in emergencies, learn drills, and in essence, always be prepared for the unexpected. To this end, each dorm building was thought of as a starship, and each starship was divided into crews under the command of a seasoned Starfleet veteran. This veteran, the CGC, lived in the dorm with his or her crew for one semester, performing room inspections and serving as counselor, gadfly, whip, and drill master. While juggling classes, homework, physical education, and psych training, cadets were also required to perform at any moment for their CGC. No doubt a very demanding CGC, Kathryn thought, as she looked around for a place to stow a very special container that she'd pulled from her duffel. "What is that?" asked one of the twins, pointing a fuzzy finger at it. "Coffee beans," Kathryn said. She didn't want to put the beans just anywhere. These were Tarkalian coffee beans, 100% pure and very expensive, a present from dear Hobbs, her friend back home. "What is coffee?" the other twin asked with curiosity. "It's a drink that..." Kathryn stopped. Footsteps were coming down the hallway. "Mallet." Kathryn was about to make her first impression on a very important man. She stuffed the coffee beans under her pillow, shoved the rest of her unpacked duffel into the closet, and tried in vain to straighten her unruly hair. "I'll tell you later," she promised the twins, then jumped as a voice like a pistol shot rang out. "Attention, cadets!" Commander Etienne Mallet had arrived. Chapter 2. He wasn't a tall man, but Commander Etienne Mallet had that same strong authoritarian bearing that Kathryn's father had when he was in what she called command mode. They're about the same age, she thought, and definitely cut from the same mold. As Mallet stepped through the door, Kathryn snapped to attention. So did Thrumpole. Mallet's side was the dorm's watch officer, Yeoman Hott, a young Bolian male with bright blue skin and piercing dark eyes. Like all Bolians, his face was bisected by a horizontal ridge of skin, making him look like making him look like he'd been assembled in two pieces from an old-fashioned factory mold. Room 416, cadets. Thrumpole and Cadet Janeway, informed Mallet, reading from a datapad. "Thrumpole," Mallet said gruffly. "At ease. Now which of you is which?" "She is Pole, sir," said Thrum. "And she is Thrum, sir," said Pole. Mallet stared at them silently for a moment. Then he said, "I remind you, Thrumpole, that all cadets in this institution must distinguish themselves in order to prove their worth to Starfleet. I suggest you two start by simply distinguishing yourselves from each other." The twins nodded their heads enthusiastically. "We hope to do just that, sir." Mallet turned to Kathryn. "And Cadet Kathryn Janeway, in the sciences track, as I recall." "Yes, sir," Kathryn confirmed. Mallet drew in a slow, deep breath as he studied Kathryn. She fancied he could probably drill a hole through the hull of a starship with his eyes. Again, just like her father. At that moment, she felt as if he were drilling a hole straight into her brain and rummaging around in her memories as if trying to form an instant impression of her whole life. "I expect great things from you, Janeway," he said. It was a command, not a statement of hope. Kathryn put on her most determined expression. "You'll get them, sir." Mallet walked casually around the room. "Now, as you've probably surmised, cadets, this is what's known as a surprise inspection." He brushed at the wrinkles in Thrumpole's bed covers. "From now on, you'll keep your room in perfect order at all times. That means no wrinkles in the bed sheets." He made a gesture, and his aide bent down and picked up a gold earring off the floor, which one of the twins accepted with a sheepish grin. "And no rubbish on the floor." "No, sir," the Diasmans chorused. Mallet eyed the suspicious lump under Kathryn's pillow. And no, he pulled out the hidden container and read the label. Tarkilian coffee beans under your pillow. Mallet turned to Kathryn. I take it you like coffee, Cadet Janeway. Yes, sir, I do indeed, she answered cautiously. I, too, enjoy a cup now and again, Mallet said. However, I do not keep beans in my bed. Aye, sir. It won't happen again, sir. You're right, it won't. Mallet proceeded to inspect the rest of the room. With the smooth efficiency of a sadistic surgeon, he tore the place apart piece by piece, moving every item on every shelf, taking everything out of the drawers, checking under the mattresses, and, to Kathryn's dismay, opening the closet to find her hastily hidden duffel bag. Worse than saying anything about it, he let a significant pause go by, then simply closed the closet door again. As far as he was concerned, not one single item was stowed properly. Clothes weren't folded correctly, jewelry was non-regulation, data packs were stacked sloppily, the floor was dirty, the walls had fingerprints. There was a cobweb in the corner, which there wasn't, Kathryn was sure. Nothing was right. Through it all, Mallet spoke in sharp, quick phrases while Ensign Hott took copious notes on his data pad. Kathryn didn't move a muscle through the ordeal, and neither did Thrumpole. Finally, when the room was a complete mess, Mallet headed for the door. This room will stand inspection every morning for 2 weeks, he said. Aye, sir, Kathryn replied, and winced because Thrumpole said the exact same thing at the exact same time. The three of them sounded like a Greek chorus. One corner of Mallet's mouth quirked up. He left, followed by Hott. The minute they were gone, Thrum sagged. Ow, we are doomed. Look at our things, whined Pole. Does he have the right to do this? And will he do it at every inspection? Kathryn didn't answer at first. It took all her concentration not to scream in frustration. Forget about making a good first impression, Janeway. Mallet's going to remember you as a slob with beans in her bed. When she was sure her anger was under control, Kathryn hauled her duffel bag out of the closet and resumed unpacking. You two have never heard of boot camp, she said in a clipped voice. My father told me stories about the armed services on Earth a couple 100 years ago. Back then, you couldn't blink without permission. Looks like Mallet is a little old-fashioned. She eyed the door, thinking of all of those stories of her father, of the fact that he wasn't with her now. Well, wherever he was, he'd be receiving reports of her progress, and no matter how hard she had to work, no matter what she had to do to impress Mallet, those reports were going to make her father proud. If Commander Etienne Mallet wants perfection, I'll give it to him, Kathryn muttered as she unpacked. I'll give him more perfection than he knows what to do with. 2 mornings later, Kathryn awoke early to the soft, silent tingle of the alarm band around her wrist. She deactivated the device and took it off. Thrum and Pole were still asleep, each curled like cats in their beds. Thrum was in the bed on the left, and Pole was in the bed beyond it. Kathryn grinned. Finally, she could tell her roommates apart. The solution had been deceptively simple. Kathryn merely suggested that one of the twins dye her crest a different color. To her surprise, the Diasamins' responses to that idea demonstrated that they were already beginning to separate, at least in terms of personal taste. Thrum, it turned out, was more conservative than Paul and refused to alter her natural appearance for any reason. Paul, on the other hand, was not only willing to dye her crest, but she decided to dye it shocking violet. Needless to say, nobody had trouble telling the twins apart anymore, including CGC Mallet. Kathryn slipped on her robe and started to make some coffee using a little portable grinder brewer unit designed to operate in perfect silence. She didn't want to wake up the twins, not yet. This wasn't just any morning, this was the first day of classes. Kathryn wanted to start her career off right with a little peaceful reflection, a fresh cup of java, and one of the homemade caramel brownies that her mother had tucked into her duffel before she'd left home. Kathryn thought of calling Blake and Anna to wish them good luck today, but she hadn't seen them since they'd all first arrived at the academy together. Already she and her old childhood friends were drifting apart. Maybe that was to be expected. Kathryn wasn't sure, but it made her feel as if she were shedding an old skin, leaving her feeling itchy and uncertain about the future. Kathryn hated to feel uncertain about anything. "Welcome to the beginning of your life, Kathryn," she thought to herself. What a frightening concept. Was she really up for this? She didn't just want to do good in school. Kathryn wanted to be the best. "If I study hard, I should be able to ace classes," she thought. "But I'll have to look into extra credit projects and campus organizations to boost my records." She'd already calculated that she could do with only 6, not 8, hours of sleep every night if she ate right and exercised. Those 2 extra hours could be used for extra study or volunteer field trips, whatever she needed to keep her name on the top of the list as the semester unfolded. If she was lucky, she might even find time to join a sports team. That would demonstrate her ability to work with others as well as her physical prowess. "This campus is going to remember me long after I've graduated," she thought in anticipation. "Daddy will be so proud." Kathryn's plotting was interrupted as Paul sat up in bed, her nose twitching as she sniffed the air. "What's that?" she asked sleepily. "Coffee," answered Kathryn, disappointed that her moment of aromatic peace had been interrupted. "Want some?" "Is it good?" asked Thrum, opening her eyes and yawning. Kathryn snorted. "Girls, it is heaven in a cup." She took out 3 cups and poured some for each of them. She lingered over her first sip as the twins gingerly tasted theirs. "Ow, num-num," Paul decided, smacking her lips. Kathryn guessed that num-num was a diaceman word for yummy. She'd already concluded that ow was an exclamation of surprise, like oh, and tsh meant something like doggone it. Paul glanced over at her sister. "Well, don't you like coffee, Thrum?" Wagging her head non-committally, Thrum said, "It's all right." Paul squealed in delight, grinning at Kathryn. "Yes! It's begun, Kathryn. I like something. Thrum does not. We're growing apart." "Shh," Kathryn hissed. "You'll wake up the whole dorm." Kathryn needn't have worried. A horrendously loud klaxon suddenly went off through the whole building, and a voice announced over the loudspeaker, "Red alert! Red alert! All hands to battle stations."